I remember when I was in high school, I had been dating since the age of 13, and but it was different people who I had met on a chat line, and I had met some people in school and out of school because I would not go to class sometimes or be late to class, and I would go with my friends like out, out of the campus, and we would go home late, or we would go home. And when I was in high school, my mom gave me permission to sleep over at a friend's house, and I think it was during summertime. And we started to date. We started to go out. I started to sleep over at his, and it was a boy, not a girl. We started to date. We started to go out. I started to go sleep over at his house. We would go out. He would pay for the meal. We would go to different places with his family, with his mom and dad, and he introduced me to his sisters, and he kind of told me a little bit about his personal life, not everything in details. And my life is totally different than his. When we met, I think we were like 17 years old, and I've always lived with my mom only, but my mom has a big family because of her mom and dad, but her parents didn't live together, and so she got pregnant at a very young age, and that's how I come into the picture. Like, that's how I became her daughter. That's why I was brought up very differently than him. His parents had a very different age than my mom, and my mom and dad, they haven't lived together in a long time. I think over 15 years. I think my parents separated when I was like 5, and ever since they haven't lived together again. And so my mom gave me permission to sleep over at his house. We just kind of like fell in love, but something interrupted me. And when he proposed, I just never went back to his house to talk about the proposal, about the wedding, or anything. And I was really, really into him. I really, really liked him. I really honestly don't know what it was that day, but something took over the plans and relationship that we had. And his life was totally different than mine. Like, my mom and me have always lived together, but I don't have any brothers or sisters, and my parents, they don't live together, and we've always rented. We don't own any of the properties that we lived in. But my grandma does, supposedly. I don't know the true story behind that, but I don't want to go into that because that's my grandma's private information. But we used to rent some houses in Far and over there in Alamo that were from my dad's family, but we would pay my dad's brother or my grandma the rent, and that was it. But we didn't know the true story of who owned the houses or anything. And so yeah, so he proposed. My ex-boyfriend proposed to me, and it was weird. It was like as if they had done the contrary, like something against me instead of something good. I was supposed to say yes about the proposal, and I was supposed to accept them back into my life. And I don't know, something just interrupted, and then we just never went back to the relationship, or back to the subject, or back to the, like what we wanted to talk about. And little by little, it became a problem. Like, we just started not to want to be around each other, not to want to talk, not to be in the relationship and stuff. But the truth is that when he proposed, me and him both knew that I really wanted to be with him, and that I was with him because I wanted to. But I don't know what it was. Something just kind of pushed me off of him in a way that I didn't want to go back to his house all of a sudden. And I had already been with him for like 2 semesters with no problem whatsoever. Like, we didn't have a problem at all those 2 semesters. I never doubted that I wanted to be with him, and I never had doubted that I would have stayed with him in the relationship. All of a sudden, something just totally changed my mind, totally changed my mood and everything. But to be honest with you, I wasn't sure about what I was doing, but I did what I did, and he took it very personal. And so the time passed, and I was worried because my health was going down really badly. Like, I was at the hospital a lot of times, like I would say at least 10 times in the past 5 years. And like, and I don't go for 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day only. I go in for like at least 4 to 5 days, and it's not really like the it's not the emergency room, it's the behavior hospital, but it's still considered a hospital. So they feed us there breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I never thought that I would have a problem like that. And he was the only person that I dated that I ever slept with more than numerous times and for a long period of time. And we did everything together. We would bath together. We would go out in the summer together. We would go out to eat together. We would go out with his friends, with his mom and dad, with his sisters, and we didn't have any problem. I don't know, like my family was totally different because it was just me and my mom most of the time, and sometimes my mom would have her mom there, my grandma, but not her dad, because her mom and dad separated when they were when they were kids, and so I only grew up with my grandma, but not my grandpa. But my grandma had already married somebody else, so I had a step grandfather, and so my mom lived a totally different life than me. My ex boyfriend had a totally different life than me, and it's always just me and my mom. I don't have any brothers and sisters. I don't have a dad in the house. I don't have any friends. I don't have anybody, and I'm always by myself. I didn't even graduate. I didn't even last long in the work that I had. I don't have a lot of work experience, and I haven't worked in a long time. I don't even have a paycheck per week or per month, like since more than 5 years ago. And yes, I have received paychecks before, and in the last 10 years, I have received paychecks, but not more than five. Like I would say two or like one, and it wasn't even a whole week of work or a whole month or anything like that. It was just a day or two, and it wasn't more than 4 hours. It was a little bit of time, and that's it, you know. And so I don't know, I don't know what caused me and him to separate, or what caused us to not want to marry or not want to be together, you know. But we didn't have any problems the whole summer or time that we were together at his house, because it was not my house, it was his parents. But his parents did have problems with him, and I started to have problems because of the relationship that we had been in after, and because of some friends that he has, and some problems that I started to have in the family. I would go to the hospital cada rato, and but because he beat me up, that's why. But afterwards, I started to get really bad symptoms. I started to feel like if he had kind of killed me a little, like I felt like if he had start I felt like if he caused me to kind of like die little by little, him. And so it was fucking weird because I started to get the effects of the golpe later. I started to get the effects of the like the beating up that they did on me later. So what I'm thinking is that he probably didn't do it with a bad intention, right? But that he didn't think before he did what he did, and that's why he was scared to come back to me because of what he had done. And it's like I cannot be giving trust to anybody or be playing like that with anybody, because that's my life, you know. That's my life in danger. That's something very important. That's my life, not his. Like he's not gonna feel bad if I die or if something happens to me. So I didn't want to trust them anymore or go back to the relationship because of that. But I started to look at the wedding dresses and the crowns and the rings, and I started to think about the time that he proposed, and when we were happy together, and like all these things. But I kept it to myself, and I didn't want to say anything. But it kind of gave me hope that we could fix the relationship and start all over again, you know, like as a couple. But I know that if he has kids or a wife or a girlfriend right now, that's gonna affect us later, because he's just gonna be thinking about her, the kids, and about them, you know, because it's like 10 years and we were only together for like two. And so yeah, so that kind of brought me down very badly. The fact that he gave up on the relationship very easily, and that he didn't try to look for me when I was there at my dad's house. I was at my dad's house, the house that we lived in, me and my mom, the whole time for like 4 years or 5 years after the breakup, and he never fucking came back, like to try to get back together. So we ended up over there in an apartment over there in El Dora Road over there in San Juan, where the post office over there, like going over there. And then we moved over here, and we've already been here for like 6 years, and I haven't even heard from him. And the sad thing is that he's the only person that I dated from that school, from the School of Bears. All of my other ex-boyfriends were from Raiders or Wolverines, and I had to lie and say that he was from the same school and that I lived here and that I went to school there and all this stuff, and it was a bunch of bullshit. I only went to school in Alamo and Far, and I had to go to his school but to pick him up when I would go and meet him halfway there, but that was it. And so yeah, so I started to look at wedding dresses. I started to look at limousines for weddings. I started to look at the rosaries for the funerals. I started to look at the veil, the crown, the bachelorette party, the how do you call that? The baby shower, the bridal shower, the engagement party, the anniversary party, the Valentine party, the sweetheart dance. Like, I started looking at all these things, and I realized that the reason I would cry was because of him, because I wanted to be with him and something was holding me back. And I was looking at a video, and in the video it said that the best friend of the bride is always the best man who stands on the at the end of the aisle, but that the groom stands before him on the throne. And I had a friend who was like my supposed to be like my best friend. I kind of fell in love with him, but in an innocent way, where I didn't get involved sexually or anything with him. And he totally fixed my way of thinking and the way I was living my life by just simply being part of my life. And it was very sad because we were getting really bad luck. Like, I kind of lost my friend, but he was like my best friend, him and the other one and the other one. And I kind of started to accept all of them again, but none of them are like him. And I tell you this with all my heart, like in a serious way, none of them are like him. And so they say that at the weddings, the best man always stands at the end of the aisle, of the where you walk down the aisle, like in the front row, but the husband stands before the throne. The groom stands before the throne, like where the altar is at, right there. And the dad has to walk the bride from all the way from the limousine or the entrance of the church all the way to the front of the throne, the father. And then he gives the bride to the groom. But the bride stands before the best man, and the best man passes her over to the groom, like that. I don't know where I saw that, but they were talking about weddings, they were talking about anniversaries, engagements, bachelorette parties, baby showers, engagement parties, proposals, sweetheart dance, Valentine dance, prom night. They were talking about a lot of stuff. They were talking about the band group, the drum line at school. They were talking about graduation night. They were talking about quinceañeras, graduation parties. They were talking about a lot of stuff, and it wasn't even my cousins or anything like that, or my brother or my dad's kids or anything like that. It was just like people that come out like on televisions, magazines, um, commercials, uh, TV channels, um, school, college, like different places that we were going to. But the weird thing is that everything happened around the same time, almost as if it was a remote control controlling the subject, like the channels and stuff. And so I kind of wanted to go back at some point, and I would want to go back, but I wouldn't. Something would hold me back. Like, you know, when you want to go back to something, but you kind of lose interest, or you kind of don't want to, like that. But it gave me time to think about what I was getting myself into. You know what they say, the bigger, the better. And I'm not talking about perverse things like the private part. I was talking about, like, the more time you wait, the better. Because that means that God has something better for me out there, or a better opportunity out there for us, or for me, or for my family. Like, I remember I saw a limousine parked outside a funeral home, and we had gone to a funeral, but it was not my friend, it was another person. And I remember everybody got in the limousine. I think it was Grandpa Lara. And you know who I was expecting there? My Chamberlain, the one that danced with me on my quinceañera. He never fucking came back. Never. And I was waiting for him to say, hey, where are you? Or can I come visit you to see how you're doing? Or can I go see you or algo? Nada. He didn't tell me nothing, bro. Nada. It was really bad. At first, I thought it was really bad. Like, not going back to his house afterwards, after the party, and not going back to see him, right? But then, like, time passed by, and I just said, it's just gonna get better. It's just gonna get better. It's just gonna get better. It's gonna get better soon. It's gonna get better soon. Everything's gonna become better. And I got over it. I got over him. I got over my ex-boyfriend. I got over my best friend, and I got over, like, everybody. I just got over the fact that I was in bed with somebody, and that I had been wanting to try other people. I got over it. And so I've been here for like 5 or 6 or 7 years, and I haven't had a bed since we moved over. And in the other apartments también casi nada, because I like to have privacy at home. That way I could do my makeup comfortable, and I could clean and cook comfortable. Now I have somewhere to bring my date to. Like, if I have a date, now I know where they can come and visit me, or where they can come and see me, or whatever, you know. Like, for my cumpleaños, or for Christmas or algo. Like, that's my time of the year. Not Valentine's, not Easter, not the how do you call that? Not Thanksgiving and all that stuff. But my time of the year is always December, always. And so my mom used to take us over to Houston. She used to take us to Galveston, over to Reynosa sometimes. And I don't know, all of a sudden she just started to change a lot. Like, she didn't want to take us out anymore. But she does, but only to, like, around the area, like the city of FAR, the city of Alamo, San Juan. But she doesn't go very often to McAllen. Like, it's rare when she goes to McAllen. And before, she used to always go to McAllen, so she could buy me the shoes for the quinceañeras, for the weddings, for the parties, the dresses, and all that stuff. Now she doesn't want to. Like, we don't go over there anymore. So me le pegué a mi tía de chicle, porque iban a hacer un baby shower. No me acuerdo para quién era el baby shower. Y yo estaba bien entusiasmada. No, hombre, parece que ni fui al baby shower. Yo andaba bien entusiasmada con los arreglos del baby shower. Andaba bien motivada de los arrangements, de todo. Pero because I didn't have my wedding, and I've never been pregnant. So me quedé con ganas de hacer fiestas, de festejar y todo. So me le pegué de chicle y dijo, vente mija, vámonos. Dijo, yo te compro un snack si quieres, agarra algo de ahí. Y me compró un snack. Eso me acordó de que habíamos ido. Y ahí nos metimos a una tiendita next to the flower shop. Bien bonito, no es por nada. Las cosas bien bonitas. Pero pues yo no llevé dinero ni nada. No llevé dinero ni nada. Pero habían bastantes cosas. Y esa no es la única tienda. Hay bastantes. Allá por donde está la Plaza Mall, como yendo para allá, para downtown, allá como by 23rd, by Centennial, como por allá, hay chingos de tienditas. But you have to park your car, let's say, in one of the parking lots in the back, and you have to drive, and you have to get off and walk the whole little neighborhood. And then you park it in the other neighborhood, and you have to walk the other whole neighborhood. They sell lots of stuff, high heels, dresses. They sell things for the hair, jewelry. They sell lots of stuff, purses, perfumes, makeup. They sell clothes. They have a flower shop. They have lots of stuff, and you just gotta be smart when you choose something, or when you buy, or when you pay something. You gotta be smart with the arrangements and the things that you're gonna pay for the parties and stuff. Even for funerals, they also have limousines for funerals. And I know this because my grandpa, when he died, had a limousine for his funeral. And I remember because it was me, Yesenita, and I don't know how many other people went to the funeral. But my ex-boyfriend, well, he was just my Chamberlain. He never really asked me out. The one that was a Chamberlain, he never came back. And he never called me or anything. Pero that gave me time to think about what I was doing, what I was getting myself into, and what was right and what was wrong for me. Because I was getting in really bad situations, dude. Like, I was doing really bad. But, like, lots of signs like that were showing up in my updates and stuff. Like, I would go somewhere and they would show stuff like for weddings, for funerals, for baptisms. They would show stuff like for graduations, for anniversaries, proposal, engagements, bachelorette party, how do you call that? Like, they have a lot of like a lot of different parties, like for people that are gonna have a wedding, that are gonna have an engagement party, that are gonna have like different stuff like that. Y entonces, so yo me quedé con ganas, ¿verdad? So ahora cada que veo algo y me acuerda o me motiva a querer casarme, digo, qué bonito fuera, ¿verdad? No soy perfecta, nadie lo es, pero qué bonito fuera, ¿verdad? Tener una persona que te quiere y en verdad estar con la persona. Y entonces, pues sí, pues me quedé pensando a ver si me invita Lisette para allá, para McAllen. No, hombre. She did the baby shower for the girl or for whoever it was. I don't even remember what it was. I don't even know if it was a baby shower, or I don't even know what it was. I think it was a baby shower. I don't even think I went to the baby shower. I don't even remember. To be honest with you, I don't remember. And so, yeah. Pero me quedé con ganas de eso, de hacer una fiesta en grande. Como un proposal, un engagement, como una anniversary o algo. Like, yo nomás me acuerdo que nosotros cuando andábamos era en summertime. Y que vivíamos en su house y que él me iba a levantar y me dejaba. Pero yo nunca pensé nada malo de él, ni de su papá, ni de su mamá. De repente, I don't like your house, y que I don't like your car, y que you're poor, y que you're ugly, y que, like, stuff that you don't tell people, ¿me entiendes? You don't say that to people. Pero yo porque pues le tenía un poco de sentimiento. So le empecé a decir cosas. Pero ya desde entonces no lo miré. Y ya no volví a hablar con él ni nada. Y entonces pues sí, pues me quedé con ganas de eso. Porque pues he popped the question. He popped the cherry over here. Pero pues he never fucking did the bridal shower or the wedding or anything. So me quedé con ganas de eso. Y entonces, pues sí, he popped the cherry and everything, pero pues nunca hizo pop la question también, pero pues nunca hizo pop ahora el pinche anillo. O sea, me quedé esperando.